God, I'm not a child. I don't need a babysitter anymore. Gosh, I'm 17 years old and my dad still thinks I'm a baby. Well, I hope that the babysitter doesn't freak out when she sees this baby. All right. Coming. I opened the door again. Why was he still here? What are you doing here?
Is this the Douglas's house? I'm the babysitter. Where's the baby? Don't tell me you're the baby.
Oh God, I just wish the ground would open and swallow me up. Hello, MDA audience. My name's Paige Douglas. The guy at the door is Mason Duncan, a super spoiled rich kid. The problem was, he was the babysitter that my dad hired. A billionaire became my babysitter. Can you believe that? Anyway, if you want to know the full story, make sure to like and subscribe to our channel. First of all, let me talk about myself a bit. I came from a single-parent family. My dad used to tell me that he and my mom had tried really hard to bring me into the world. Unfortunately, my dad lost her in childbirth. That was the reason why my dad became so overprotective even when I'm grown up. My dad is a cop and he's super busy. Even when it came to taking me to my friend's house for Halloween, he couldn't rely on anyone, but he took me there by his patrol car. I thought it was cool back then, until I entered high school. Yep, that little girl who was covering her face over there was me.
Pumpkin pie, you forget to say, I love you, Dad.
Are you serious? I'm not a child.
I love you, Dad.
Dad, stop! People are watching. OMG, this is embarrassing. See how people look at me like I'm some kind of alien? I hate to be treated like a clown in front of everyone. I mean, my dad is definitely pressing that horn again if I don't say it. I love you, Dad.
That's a copy. I love you too. See you later, pumpkin pie.
After my dad left, I had to deal with the mocking laughter of other fellow students. Oh dear, it was literally humiliating.
Hey, the baby was escorted to school again. I think you should tell your pappy to take you to class, baby.
Mason, yeah, you saw his little spoiled face at the beginning of the video. Coming from money, he had nothing but a damn good look and billionaire parents. He's also the team captain of the basketball team. I heard he used money to buy that position. Anyway, as for me, he's just a show-off. Gosh, that was so annoying. Listen to what the airhead's saying.
I beg your pardon, bookworm?
You lost your brain then and now lost your ears? What a spoiled rich kid. You should throw your money on something more helpful, like a brain surgery. Mason was gobsmacked and so mad that his face turned red. Still, he just laughed. Wow, this really satisfied me. Literally.
Pumpkin pie, can you make it home by yourself? Got stuff to do, so I can't come and pick you.
My dad got busy with some illegal trafficking cases again. I heard the mastermind behind the crime had not been detected yet, and it had been bothering my dad for a few days now. That's how it goes, I guess. As soon as I walked to the gate, a bunch of dudes blocked my way, and their leader was none other than Mason. What do you want?
It's no biggie.
Before I could react, someone grabbed my bag from behind. It was given to Mason, and he turned it upside down, causing everything inside to fall to the ground.
Jeez, what on earth do you bring to school, dude?
Their mocking laughter made me feel humiliated. I couldn't hold it anymore, so I rushed to grab my bag. Unexpectedly, Mason raised it up high that was beyond my reach. I went nuts, and so I stomped on his feet. As soon as he dropped the bag, I quickly snatched it back and bolted. Mason and his dudes immediately chased after me. They might be muscle, but they could never outrun me. It was hilarious as hell. I could even tease him while running, and this is what came after the accident. After what happened to me, Mason had called an ambulance before running away. My dad rushed to the hospital right after the nurse called him.
Oh, sweetheart. I shouldn't have let you go home alone.
Dad, I'm all right. Even though I had confirmed that I was totally fine, my dad still didn't buy it and decided that I should stay home for 1 week until I fully recovered. I know my dad well enough to know that he would be worried sick if I insisted on going to school. Anyway, since I wasn't going to school and my dad wasn't comfortable leaving me at home alone, he decided to hire a babysitter. Yes, you heard that right. A real human being babysitter. Things after that happened exactly like you saw in the beginning of the video. That babysitter was Mason the rich kid. After he found out that I was the one in need of care, he burst into laughter as if he was struck by lightning or something. Gosh, I hate that! Can you stop?
You're not a kid! But you still look for a nanny!
And you, what are you? A dude as a nanny? And why is your name Natalin?
Oh, that's actually my cousin's name. I'm just covering for her.
Of course you are! Why would a silver spoon like you need to be a nanny for money?
Better than someone who's being grown up and still needing someone to change her diapers.
Ugh! You're despicable! I angrily slammed the door, but then my genius mind realized something. I could absolutely take advantage of this to torture Mason. Come on in. Before I could finish my words, Mason nudged me aside and entered my house. Of course, a young prince living in a castle has never seen an ordinary house before. I plopped down on the sofa, casually watching Mason. Since you are my babysitter, you have to do as I say.
Based on what?
Based on this. If you don't listen to me, I'll tell my dad everything. He's a cop and he won't let you get away with this. Don't even think about using your money. My dad can't be bought. Yes, fear me now, Mason. Welcome to hell, darling. Yes. The babysitter you found is doing so great. Uh-huh. I won't cause any trouble for the nanny. Bring me more snacks! Seeing his pale face made me feel victorious. But that wasn't enough. I ordered him to clean the pool, which hadn't been cleaned for years. Mason was furious, but still had to do what I said while I was relaxing on the chair. You'd better do it well. I don't want to see any stains left.
That spoiled Douglas kid.
I could hear you. If you show that bad attitude one more time, I'll tell my dad everything. Mason was so mad that he stomped his foot and slipped. Oh my god, Mason, you're so clumsy. I was stepping forward to mock him, but then I slipped too and... Ah! I thought I would fall into the pool floor, but it felt oddly soft. Oh, turned out I fell into Mason's arms. OMG, what was happening? My heart beat like it was going to jump out. I struggled to be free, but Mason just carried me tightly.
Stop wiggling. The floor is slippery. Both of us might slip.
Why was he so gentle all of a sudden? I just couldn't take it. As soon as he put me down, I hurriedly ran out of the pool. If I moved quickly enough, he wouldn't be able to notice my red like a tomato face. Anyway, being bossy over Mason all day was incredibly satisfying. Well done, my friend. I'll see you tomorrow.
What?
When my dad came home from work, he was surprised to find the house unusually clean and tidy. He even questioned whether the babysitter was the one who cleaned it. Well, she's a dedicated person, Dad. Dad seemed satisfied and didn't ask for any further detail. That evening, I passed by my dad's room and accidentally saw him pacing back and forth and mumbling something inaudibly.
How did this mess happen?
Is everything all right, Dad? You good?
Yeah. Sweetie, did you enter my room by any chance?
No, I didn't. What's wrong?
Oh, nothing's wrong. Good night, sweetie.
Recently, Dad had been so busy investigating that trafficking case that he seemed to have aged a few years. I didn't want to cause him any more trouble or worry, so I decided not to tell him about Mason replacing Natalin as my babysitter. The next day, Mason came to my house. We sat in the dining room and worked on the school assignments that I had missed.
Hey, concentrate.
This is too much. I can't finish it. Mason laughed as he saw my face, but eventually helped me with my homework. Wow, I didn't expect him to be so smart. With his help, I managed to finish all my assignments. However, I ended up dozing off since we sat for so long. When I woke up, Mason was gone. Did he sneak off? I was in deep thought when suddenly there was a strange noise upstairs. Was there a burglar in my house? I swallowed hard and decided to go check it. If there really was a burglar, I'd take him down in a blink of an eye. Don't you mess with the Douglas. What are you doing here?
I was looking for the bathroom. Are you hungry? How about some pizza? I'll place an order.
Mason said and quickly went downstairs. He looked absolutely suspicious. The following day, Mason came again. I told him that I was exhausted and wanted to take a nap, so he could do anything he wanted as long as he didn't leave my house before his shift ended. Sure enough, as soon as I came back to my room, he started to take action. He went into my dad's room and began searching for something. It didn't take him too long until he pulled out a file from the drawer. What are you doing here? Mason looked at me in panic, clutching the file tightly. Being the replacement babysitter is not your true purpose, isn't it, Mason? Why are you taking advantage of me? Tell me, Mason! Tell me!
You should get out of my way. I don't want to hurt you.
This is my house! What are you gonna do to me?
You won't understand. Just get out of my way.
What you're doing is illegal!
Shut up!
As he spoke, he lunged at me. However, he quickly stopped because my dad had been standing behind me all along. Mason then realized that he had fallen into my trap. That was right. After detecting Mason's sneaky behavior, I started to doubt. So, when Dad got home from work, I asked him a bit about the case he was investigating. I found out that last week, police had found suspects' DNA at the crime scene and were comparing it to the database to find their identities. You must be wondering what this case has to do with Mason. Well, I'm pretty sure that he was one of the criminals that my dad was chasing.
All right. You should tell me the truth now, Mason. What was your involvement in this case? It wasn't me, but my cousin, Tyler. He said you had evidence against him, so he sent me here to steal it.
Okay, maybe I got that part slightly wrong. Why did you listen to him?
Tyler, he's the leader of a gang. He threatened that if I didn't do what he asked, he would harm anyone that was close to me. I'm so sorry, Officer Douglas. I know what I did was wrong.
What? So the whole thing that said you were the babysitter instead of Madeline was...
All fake. Tyler arranged everything and sent me here. Are you taking me to jail, Mr. Douglas? Stealing evidence is a serious crime, Mr. Duncan. I got it.
Dad, are you really going to arrest him?
All right. Pumpkin Pie, can you give us some space? It's gonna be fine.
Looking at Dad's eyes, I knew that I had to do it even though I didn't want to. So I left Dad's room. I literally had no idea what they were talking about. All I knew was after 20 minutes of talking, Mason stepped out, my dad was right after him. How was the talk? You all right? Mason smiled at me, then looked at my dad.
Mr. Douglas said if I agreed to come forward as a witness against Tyler, I'd be cleared of all charges. I'm ready to cooperate. I'll do everything you say, Mr. Douglas.
Mason's cooperative attitude had me realize that he wasn't necessarily a jerk after all. He might have made a big mistake, but he also realized it and genuinely felt remorse about it. I think my dad was right to give him a second chance to stand on the side of righteousness and fix what was wrong.
That year, my obnoxious brother Orson and I were competing in an international dance tournament. After he lifted me into the air, I tried to balance in his arms, but suddenly I slipped, causing both of us to fall to the ground. My leg was badly injured and I couldn't stand up. It hurts so much! You just ruined our performance, you dimwit. Having said that, my brother left me on the stage alone to face the ridicule of the entire audience. Worse, my parents were also staring at me with disappointment. Hi, I hope you haven't forgotten me. I'm Dulcie, the second member of the Fearless Club. I'm so glad for Crystal that she has gotten rid of Orson. Unlike me, I have to stick with that demon lord for the rest of my life. Why? Because we're siblings. Ever since we were kids, Orson and I have trained to be professional dancers. We used to be on 2 different teams, but because my dance partner suddenly left, we had to pair up. Both of us have won many dance competitions, but after I had that injury, everything changed drastically. I was forced to take a 3-month break to recover from my injury. My parents immediately found Orson a new dance partner and blamed me that my injury had prevented him from winning the championship. With words like that coming out of my own parents, I had been beating myself up about how useless I was. That trauma made me no longer want to pursue dancing, although I loved it. Gradually, my parents started to favor Orson more and more. No matter how hard I tried in school, it was never enough for them. Having my hard-earned achievements ignored, I became extremely rebellious. That's why I kept being summoned to the supervisor's office, and it was where I met my friends in the Fearless Club. One time, I was walking past the dance class when I heard a soft piano sound. When I was sure that there was nobody around, I immediately found myself in the melody and started dancing. But the old injury suddenly recurred, which hurt so much that I cried out and fell to the floor. The music stopped and the pianist appeared. "Dulcie, you can dance?" Turns out, Crystal had seen my impromptu dance, and Sophie was the one who played the piano. To the curiosity of the 2 girls, I sadly told my story to them. To my surprise, Crystal shouted cheerfully, "Don't give up! You can get back to the competition. I know a talented dancer who's also looking for a partner." Really? Yep, you 2 people will make a wonderful team. That sounds great. We'll come cheer for you in our sequin dresses. I doubted it, but out of curiosity, I agreed to meet the guy. The next morning, following Crystal's instructions, I went to the Thinking Cup Cafe to meet my new dance partner. While I was waiting, someone accidentally bumped into me and spilled his coffee on my clothes. Hey, you... When I looked up at his face, I was shocked to realize that it was William, my ex-dance partner who had suddenly left me without saying goodbye. William stared at me with annoyance, and to my surprise, he was the one Crystal wanted to introduce to me. Ugh, don't tell me your ugly personality has been keeping you from finding a dance partner after all these years. You're no better than me. At least I didn't get kicked out of the competition by my own brother. We both quickly got into a fight. My luck must have been seriously horrible to get me in this situation. The next day, despite the persuasion of my 2 besties, I decided not to see William again. I told Sophia and Crystal how William abandoned me before and how he insulted me when we finally met again. Aren't you curious what made him do that? Who cares? People always leave me because I'm useless. Having said that, I sadly left. That afternoon, I suddenly received a text from Crystal saying that she was stuck in the changing room. Orson was standing outside and wanted to take revenge on her. I immediately rushed there, but when I arrived, there was no one in sight. A voice startled me. "What are you doing here?" "William?" Suddenly, the door closed as Sophia and Crystal spoke from outside. "I'll let you go when you both talk to each other properly." We tried to break down the door in anger, but it was no use. They really wouldn't release us until we did as they said. Suddenly, a rat ran out, and I was so scared that I jumped on William. When it left, he and I looked at each other shyly. I mustered up the courage to speak first. "Why did you leave me?" "Weren't you the one who wanted me to leave?" William told me that before the competition of that year began, Orson gave him a letter full of my heavy criticism of him and my wish to change to another dance partner. What the heck? It was supposed to be a love letter. I used to have a heavy crush on William, but I was too shy to tell him, so I wrote a letter and asked Orson to help deliver it. Maybe Orson wanted me to team up with him so badly, he forged a fake, hateful letter. After the misunderstanding was solved, William and I once again became a team and ready to get back to the competition. One day, in the middle of practice, we slipped and fell on each other. He and I looked at each other passionately as my cheeks flushed red from embarrassment. He gently kissed my forehead and said, "I like you, Dulcie." Suddenly, the blinding lights turned on. Orson was sitting proudly in the stands and clapping his hands in mockery. "Look at the losers who were defeated by me." Orson slowly approached me like a predator, but William pushed him away without missing a beat. My evil brother punched William to the ground. Furiously, I grabbed his collar and challenged. "William and I will beat you, you jerk." "Good luck with that, losers." After that, we practiced day and night. Sophie and Crystal also came to cheer for us whenever they could. At the end of the day, when William and I were leaving, suddenly Orson and his minions stopped us. "You're crazy. What are you going to do?" Two of them held my arms and the rest of them huddled up to beat William. Only when someone saw us, Orson and his minions let us go and ran away. At that point, William couldn't even move his arm anymore. In a panic, I hurriedly carried him to the hospital. The doctor informed that William's right arm was heavily injured. My parents, after learning of William's injury, suggested that they would hire a different partner for me, but I immediately refused them. William would be my one and only dance partner. And instead of performing that gorgeous lifting move that we had practiced so hard to perfect, I made a bold decision. William and I would perform a different but no less impressive and difficult move, the one that caused my injury many years ago. Finally, the final match between the 5 teams came. I met Orson again in the gymnasium. He nudged my shoulder mockingly, then confidently accompanied his partner to the dance floor. His first part went pretty well. He showed some pretty good moves with his dance partner. Near the end, Orson lifted his partner and imitated the secret move that William and I rehearsed before William was beaten. What a thief! But when he did that move, his feeble arms were so unsteady that his partner fell hard to the ground. Orson was so shocked by the failed performance that he quickly stood up before the end of the song, even though his partner was lying on the ground in pain. Their performance ended abruptly as the two went backstage. Orson constantly scolded his partner. "It's all your fault." Jeez, I pity for his dance partner. Obviously it was his fault, but Orson always blamed it on someone else. William ran over to take my hand. He was very nervous. "Don't worry, William. It's battle time." With a burning fighting spirit, we marched onto the stage. The performance started off very smoothly. At the end of our performance, I hesitated for a moment until I heard Sophie and Crystal cheering wildly. "Dulcie, you can do it!" William whispered to me, "Believe in yourself." I nodded and clung to his shoulder. We performed the beautiful move from the past that surprised all the audience. In the end, we emerged victorious with a perfect score. I proudly stood on stage with William and he gave me a big kiss. After I won the championship, my parents were very proud of me. However, I angrily told them about the times they treated me unfairly, and although they tried to apologize, because the wound was too big, I couldn't forgive them for the time being. As for Orson, after being investigated for assaulting William, Orson was stripped of the right to compete in any national dance competition for 2 years. He had paid the price for his evil deeds with William, and thanks to my besties, I now have a wonderfully beautiful love with my handsome dance partner that I thought I would never see again.
At my mom's wedding, I was forced to wear a mini dress to be her bridesmaid. "Mom, the dress is too short for me. Can I replace it?" "Don't be dumb. There will be a lot of rich guys there. It's your chance to impress them." No matter what I said, she still refused to listen. Then, when I entered the aisle, because I have to hide my bat, I staggered and fell to the ground. Instead of helping, everyone just laughed and mocked me. What a disaster! Hi, I'm Bentley. I have a very special mom. The only thing she wanted me to learn was to be beautiful and attract the opposite gender. Men conquer the world, we conquer man, was what she always told me. And maybe because of that, her married life was a bit, complicated. She only married rich men but broke up with them very quickly. Most recently, she was married to a gem trader. We just moved into his mansion not too long ago. Once, my stepdad took mom and I to play golf with him and his work partner. But when I got there, I realized I was only brought alone to cheer for them. But it was too difficult because my stepdad played so badly. 15 minutes passed and he still couldn't stand in the right position. I suggested corrected his posture, but unexpectedly, he got mad at me. "What does a girl like you know?" If you're that good, try it. I confidently accepted his challenge and chose a suitable club and correct stance. Gently, I hit the ball into the hole in only one shot. Yahoo! I happily jumped and turned around to celebrate. But unexpectedly, waiting for me were unpleasant looks from them. Mom immediately pulled me in the corner and yelled, "Don't try to be smarter than men. They don't like that." But why? Why do we have to please them? Stop arguing. You don't understand nothing at all. Then, she angrily sent me back to the hotel. My appearance was also something my mom cared about a lot. She forced me to dye my reddish-brown hair to blonde like hers because she believed it would make me more fashionable and ladylike. Jeez, I hated it! That day, when I was doing my homework for geography, my mom saw me. She picked up my notebook, looked it over, then threw it in the trash. Being a nerd won't get you a boyfriend. Being a hottie will. Then, before I could say anything, she dragged me into the room and started putting makeup on my face. She even said that she had an arranged date for me with a rich guy, the son of my stepdad's work partner. A moment later, the doorbell rang. A rich-looking guy appeared and kept smugly stroking his smooth hair.
Hey babe, let's go. Don't waste any moment. There are a dozen of girls lined up for a date with me.
Right, but can you please pull your zipper up first? Liam flushed and turned away. Although I didn't want to go on a date with him under my mom's threat, I still had to agree. So, both of us went to a fancy restaurant for a meal. However, throughout that date, I was tortured by Liam's glorious life stories. I believed if he could, he would probably marry himself. When the waiter brought the dishes to us, Liam was annoyed and called him a slow retard and even pushed the poor waiter. Then, accidentally, the waiter slipped his hand and spilled the whole plate of food on my body. Liam, you should reserve a place for some decency in your tiny little arrogant brain. Unable to bear him any longer, I got up and left. The next day, when I was in the library, I saw someone's unfinished geography homework on the table. There were some mistakes, and being a perfectionist as I was, I couldn't contain myself. I sat down and corrected the answers. Suddenly, a guy rushed to me.
Hey, what do you think you're doing? Don't draw on my books.
I'm not drawing, I'm doing you a favor. When I looked up, I recognized him. It was the waiter yesterday. He looked closely at my answers for a while, then shouted happily.
Wow, you solved it? I was about to give up.
Then, he introduced himself as Anthony, the president of the Wildlife Research Club. He invited me to participate in the project of a building nocturnal wildlife monitor that he and his members were working on. It sounded interesting, so I happily agreed. Since then, we have been collaborating. For the first time in my life, I felt truly happy and free. I hid that from my mom and secretly installed a nocturnal wildlife monitor in my garden. One day, my mom held another party at home. While she saw it as an opportunity for me to lure in more rich boys, I was painfully bored. So, despite everyone having fun, I just sat in a corner and prayed for the party to end soon. Out of nowhere, Anthony appeared in front of me. Anthony? What are you doing here?
You told me you didn't want to be here, right? Come on, I've come to rescue you.
I smiled and took his hand. When we ran to the door, my mom caught us.
Bentley, what are you doing? Get back to the party now.
No, Mom. I don't want to be a stupid girl who lives off of man. I want to be myself. Then, I ran away with Anthony. It was the first time I dared to defy my mom and I loved it. The next morning, I returned home to find many police cars in front of my house. Thinking that because of last night's incident, my mom had called the police, so I quickly rushed into the house. However, contrary to my assumption, it was something worse. The police informed me that my mom was kidnapped last night. Our cameras were even destroyed to erase the evidence. They suspected one of my dad's rivals did it. When I was panicking, the kidnappers called us. They demanded $5 million in ransom. Hearing that, my stepdad shouted,
$5 million for that woman? Never. With that money, I can get a better wife.
I was so shocked when I heard that. Surprisingly, or not that surprising, the man my mom blindly chased after was a jerk. Despite the kidnapper's threats, he still refused to pay for her safety. The situation was so intense. The kidnappers were angry and could hurt my mom any moment. No, I must find a way to save her. I called Anthony for help and he gently reassured me.
Calm down, Bentley. Remember we installed a nocturnal wildlife monitor in your yard?
Wildlife monitor! That's right! With enough luck, the monitor might have recorded a kidnapping scene. Immediately, we went to check our machine. Thank God, it perfectly captured the image of a strange car on the night my mom was kidnapped. We quickly gave it to the police. Not long after that, my mom was rescued and the kidnappers were caught. Knowing that her rich husband refused to spend money to save her, Mom was extremely shocked. She realized how stupid she was to marry someone for money and decided to divorce him. Now, both of us have started a new life. Although we're not rich, we are happier than ever.